Okay, so took a few days off, well, from recording anyway, to paint the garage. And that wasn't something I was going to bother recording because that would have been, how stupid is that? So anyway, back down in the shop, and I wanted to walk you through something that I've been kind of banging around with here. This is a prototype in progress of a folding tabletop easel that I'm working on for a gift. And this is my prototype. So here's the idea. This, and you can see it kind of lifts up because my angles aren't, the curves on this here, where you can see this. I got to make those a little bit tighter so it sits flatter, and that's a prototype. So the idea is that this lifts up, and we're going to be fashioning some sort of a rest across here. That's where the bottom part of your canvas would be. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be for some gigantic canvas. This is for smaller pieces. And then what we're going to work on tonight is actually the legs and the stop bar that's going to go across here. And that stop bar rests in these grooves to get different angles. And this is one of those things that in the process of, I've learned a few things. I don't need this many gradations. I'm going to be able to go with half as many, and it's going to be plenty adjustable. Okay. I got the, this is not an invention of my own by any means. You can buy these. But what's the fun of that? I also came across a set of plans, and it was for something similar. I've made some adjustments, some design choices of my own. But it was one of those things where the plans that I found, they're very well done, but everything was in metric. Now, that's not a problem. I have no aversion to the metric system. However, I don't have the instinctual grasp of size when something's all in metric measurements. And I looked at the plans originally, and I thought, that looks pretty good. I was going to make a few changes to it. But then when I started actually putting a tape on it to see, okay, how big is 600 millimeters, it was a gigantic thing. I don't want that. I want something about this size. So we're sitting at about 15 inches by 13 inches. Okay, so here's what I've done so far on these legs. What I did is kind of, by using tape, I figured about 11 inches is going to be where we want to be. And the idea here too is that I want the legs to fold into this so that the whole thing folds flat and really isn't going to be much taller than this. It's an inch and a half, if that. So the 11 inches is also the sweet spot where I could get as far, get the leg as long as possible. And there's trigonometry here, triangles. So there's a point of diminishing returns. You put your leg down here, and it doesn't fit. You put your leg too far up here, and now you get some weird geometry going on there, and it doesn't fit. So 11 hit us our sweet spot, and that's going to sit right down into here with not quite half an inch to spare, which is plenty. And so what I'm going to do is go cut 2 pieces at 11 inches, and I'll bring you back. Stand by. Okay, here's our 2 pieces cut to 11 inches. And I wanted to show you something that I like to do. Now, I want to make these the same. And what I want to do, there's a few processes that we want to do to these. One is I want to round the top. And, you know, when we do the final one, all these corners would be rounded off, just, you know, something like this. It'd help if you could see. Something like that. It's just cleaner. We've got to drill a hole, and I want them to be in the same spot on both. So we're going to do that at the same time. And I've got an idea for, here's the rest that's going to go across here and hit our stops. I've got a thought about how we're going to attach that, but we'll get to that in a minute. To put these together, this is double stick carpet tape. This is fairly inexpensive. You get a big roll of it, and there's advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is it's easy to put on, and it holds like crazy. I mean, this stuff is strong, and I use this whenever I have to do template work, things like this where I need to make 2 pieces the same. Put a little pressure on them, and now those aren't going to move. The disadvantage really is that it's kind of gooey. It leaves a slight residue on the wood, and if it's not like it soaks in or anything, it's not going to screw you up that way. But if you're not paying attention, you gotta, when you take it apart, you usually gotta scrape it or hit it with a little naphtha or something if it's really sticky. It's usually not a problem. Okay, so first order of business is I want to mark the top here, and for the life of me, I cannot think of where I have put my circle templates. So let's be high tech about this. And we're going to use a roll of tape to give us our curve. Just something like that, and then we can hit that on the disc sander or the belt sander. Just clean that up. Hole for the pivots. Now this is 1.5 inches across, so that tells us 3/4 of an inch. And I want to go as far to the top here as I can without sacrificing strength. It's not like it's going to be crazy load bearing or something, but the way we're going to attach these to here is with a couple of machine screws and a nylon lock nut. so that as that pivots, that nut, if you use just a regular nut, it's going to loosen up over time, and it probably wouldn't take long at all. The nylon lock nuts, they don't move. You put them on there and there they sit. What else? Oh yeah. Okay, so here's my think on this, and here's your process of prototyping, which is just hold stuff up and guess. So my idea is, of course, we want this to fold up, and if I just put this through the middle of here, it would work great back here, okay? But what wouldn't work is when we go to fold it up, because if you go this way, it's going to hang up. You're going to have to cut a notch in this. You're going to have to cut a big deep notch here. And I didn't like that idea. So instead of putting the legs this way to fold them up, what we're going to do is spin the legs up and over the top and fold them this way, so that this will end up across here. Now, we are going to have to notch these for this to work, but I think we'll be pretty close to letting that dowel sit on top of this side without having to notch this. The one trick to this is going to be how this dowel gets mounted to our support legs. And what I want to do is cut a half-inch dowels, I think. Yeah, half-inch. I want to cut a slot here so that this dowel, instead of mounting through, will mount to the edge here. And we'll be able to pin it, and it'll be super strong. But it's going to allow us to flip that over. Okay. So we got a hole, a round over, and we got that to do. And to do that, we're going to use some Forstner bits. Let me get this open. Okay. It's a Forstner bit for drilling a hole. And I'm going to use the drill press because I want to catch that point on the very leading edge of this so that I can get that dowel way to the edge of the leg. If I score this, let me see if I can show you what my vision is. You see that? That's where the dowel is going to sit. It's right there. That's the idea. Okay, I'm going to go make that round, and then I'll bring you back to show you how we're going to do that. Stand by. So this drill press, this is a Delta. It's technically a benchtop model, but it's plenty big. It's got about a 2-inch depth of drill, I guess, you know, going this way. 5 speeds. It's an excellent tool. It's got a built-in lamp, so you got your workspace is well lit. The table can move up and down almost 2 feet. Okay, so you can accommodate a lot of different things in this machine. I've used it for metal and for wood. This thing here on the back, I don't think there's, no, there are batteries. Can you see that? The lasers show up. Now that is like a laser targeting system for the point of the drill. I had it set up once, and then I bumped something, and the whole thing goes out of adjustment, and I've never bothered to put it back, and that was probably 5 years ago. So it just kind of sits there. There's a whole process for aiming that thing. Excuse me, and they give you tools and stuff to go with. Okay, so here's a neat trick that you can do. Now you can see that I've got this clamped in because this is a little bit of a dodgy cut that we're going to try to make here. I have a piece underneath, a piece of the scrap 2x4, because whenever you're drilling through, you always want a backing board, because otherwise the back side of that hole is just going to blow out. But to get that lined up to where I wanted when I was clamping it, this, let me see if I can angle you up a little bit. There you go. This here is the depth stop. And for like when we did the grooves on that piece over there, I set the depth stop so it's just the exact same cut every time. Well, another thing that you can do with your depth stop is you can get your piece aligned, and then you set that as your starting depth, like so, and it holds your bit to your workpiece while you get all this stuff lined up. So you're not trying to do 3 hands and get everything. It'll just hold it there. Now, of course, we got to release that before we do anything. But, yeah, just a neat little trick with a depth stop. And you roll it back. And, of course, I went the wrong way with it. That way. Okay. So I got this slowed way down. These bits don't like to spin real fast. I think you max out about 900. So I've got this set to its lowest speed, which is 620 at the spindle. Let's aim you a little bit. Get my eyes on. Let's make a cut. Now I'm going slow because 1, I don't want that wood to blow out, but 2, I don't want any sort of shear on that spindle, where that spindle kicks out. And we're going to go all the way down into that 2x4 to make sure we got a nice clean cut. I think we got it. Let's unlock our clamp, and there is our groove for the stop. Cool. Let's bring you back to the other bench and keep going. Stand by. Okay, so we got that done at the top, we got that done at the bottom, and that's the idea right there. That's the idea. Don't know if it'll work. That's why it's a prototype, right? Yeah, I wanted to show you this. This is a drill gauge. Pick one of these up. They're like $1. And it's probably not going to show up real well on the camera. But these are just indexed holes for drills, right? So it goes from a 1/16 up to a half, and then on this side you have the metric equivalencies. But what's nice about that is instead of doing the thing where you got your drill bit and you're trying to hold up the end of the bolt or the screw or whatever, and you're going, I think that is going to work. What you do is you take your screw or whatever you're going to use, and you just find where it fits. So I knew to do this 3/16. I have a couple of these around the shop, and this one lives with the drill press. It's just handy to have. Okay, so let's try to coax these two pieces apart. Now, I am putting about everything I got into this. I think I could have probably gotten away with 2 pieces of tape. Plastic putty knife. See if we can coax those apart. You can see how, and that's actually why I keep this thing around, this plastic putty knife. It's garbage as a putty knife, but it's great for separating wood when I get a little nuts with the tape. There it goes. Okay. So you can see it gets kind of sloppy when you pull these apart. And yeah, I could have probably used 2 pieces instead of 3. You can see that's your disadvantage. There is another trick for holding pieces together that works really, really well. And I learned it from a guitar builder that I follow who works out of England. Check him out. His name is Ben Crow, and his company and the name of his YouTube channel is Crimson Guitars. And Ben does this trick where he uses masking tape and super glue. And so, like in this case, where here I am putzing around, and this is being abnormally stubborn. I'm going to bring you back in a sec after I clean this up. But the masking tape and super glue trick is really cool. You need brown tape. Don't use blue stuff or green stuff. It has to do with the surface of the tape, not the sticky. But you would put a piece of tape down on here and a piece of tape down on here. Okay. Put a bead of super glue along one, and on the other one, this is the secret sauce. You got to hit it with a super glue accelerator. So you get the other piece with the accelerator and you stick those two together, and there it sits. And then when you're done, you break them apart like we did this, peel the masking tape off, you're done. Or you get to do like me now and sit and clean this glue off, because I got a little nuts with my tape. Be right back. Well, that got all sorts of gooey. I don't know what's up with that. Normally it's not nearly that much of a hassle. Tape was feeling feisty tonight. Okay, so my fingers are sticky. So we've got our legs, and those are going to go here. And so that, that's our angle, and then as it tips back, that'll be our angle. You can see we don't need all of these gradations. That's too much. Okay, I've got my pencil mark here. Now, ideally, and again, prototype, ideally, these holes would get drilled like we did this, but we'd use less tape, so that they line up exact. I don't really want to take that all apart again. But it wouldn't be the end of the world. Let's see if the numbers are friendly when I eyeball this. 1.5 inches. No, 1 3/4 inches. We can do that. And we said before that 3/4 inch takes us to, oh, this piece of wood is different. I was using 2 different pieces of wood, and this is a little bit thinner. It's 1 3/8 inches. So we're going to go 1/2 inch to take care of our inch part of it, and then 1/2 inch plus 3/16 to take care of the 3/8 part. So 1/2 inch, 1, 2, 3/16. If you didn't know, half of 1 3/4 inches. 1 3/4 inches. Draw our line across. Yeah, so 1/2 of 3/8, 3/16. So we said give it 1/2 inch plus 3/16. Just to there. And 2 more things we're going to need. We need to drill a hole 3/16. And just so we hit that right on, we're going to grab an awl, AWL, and make a little pilot mark so our bit doesn't wander around. There. Where did I put this? Here. 6-inch combination square. These are stainless, this Empire brand. These are absolutely awesome. I have 2 of these. I also have the 16-inch version. Absolutely indispensable. Price-wise, they're very reasonable. They're extraordinarily accurate. Like I said, stainless steel. They're milled very true. Absolutely a must-have. Pick one of those up. You will use it all the time. Okay, so, nope. .3/16. Let's see if I can put this down. I've got a sacrificial top on this bench for exactly that reason, so I can punch holes through it and it doesn't matter. Nope. Okay, here we go with that. And we're going to use, as we're fitting this, we're going to use just the regular nuts on these. We're not going to use the lock nuts, only because I know we're going to be taking it apart again. Oh, here's the other secret sauce. A couple of fender washers. and they're real big. You know, I don't. Well, let's try without first. That's always easy enough to add in, but I just realized that I didn't account for the thickness of adding a washer when I did this. So doesn't seem like it would be much, but it's going to be enough that it won't fold up right. Must have been cool if you had headphones on. And I know these screws are a little long, but those are easy enough to cut off after the fact. Okay. The other thing I didn't account for, which is going to be an easy fix, is the depth of the screw head. So what we'll probably do is just countersink it into the leg. There we go. Okay, and that fits pretty tight inside there, which is what I want. And this slides here, that dowel, so that we have some lateral adjustment to kind of take up some slop, which, okay, that fits tight. They're tight here. Now this, we have to attach to there, and that's going to be our adjustment. So it'll go from there to, let's see what this looks like way back here, something like that. So that's pretty near a 45-degree angle. I'm pretty happy with that. I kind of would like to be able to get that more straight up and down, but I don't know. See, you know, it's that triangle thing again. You know, there's a point as you're going this way where that angle is going to max out and then start going back. See? Math. So that's where we want that to mount. And to do that, let's look at our other theory here. Because the idea is that this is going to flip over. And if this would quit walking around on us. See? Ha ha! 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 Don't even have to notch it. That's going to sit right like that. And we're going to get this really nice compact thing. I love it. Okay. So what we got to do is get this attached to that. And to do that, could just use some little trim nails, I guess. You know, finish nails. And I think if we put one in kind of going one way and one in kind of going the other way, right, kind of get that kind of a thing going on. And then a little bit of glue. Heck, probably just one with some glue. You know, we're not standing on it. I want this to raise up off the bench a little bit, so let's toss a little scrap of wood in there. I'm just kind of centering that out. Okay, we need real little bit. And, of course, put that other thing away. You know, this is the kind of building that I really like to do, because you're just trying stuff. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, well, we learn something. And we go back, we try something else. Okay, so see what we're going to be able to do now. Slide that in there. And really, those nails are just going to be almost like an indexing pin for when it gets glued. Because when you glue two pieces of wood together, that glue joint becomes the strongest point. Stronger than the wood around it in a lot of cases. So again, because this is our prototype, I'm not going to glue that, because that seems like the kind of thing that's going to come back and bite us in the butt. Drive that in. Drive that in. Got a little scrap out of there. Look at that. Haha. Boy, it's starting to look like a thing. And then this spins around. And oh, happy accident. Look at this. If we don't want to, we don't have to countersink that screw hole, because as long as we put that slot right there, the screw fits. How cool is that? I love when that kind of stuff happens. So now this swings around. That's not going to go anywhere. Look at that. How neat, huh? I'm fairly happy with that. Okay. Well, the next part of this is going to be now we're going to have to make some sort of a ledge, a lip here, where canvas will sit on top of. That's not a big deal. What is going to be a little bit of engineering is there needs to be a crossbar here. Now this is just a scrap, so you know, imagine with me here. There's going to be a crossbar here, because that is going to support an upright that goes all the way to the bottom. And that upright is going to be slotted, and in there will be another block with this thumb screw that I had, so that it'll act as a clamp. So you'll be able to slide that up and down, and I'm going to extend that up past the top of this a bit, not crazy, but a bit, so that you could put something in, you know, portrait or landscape, you know, if you want to think about it that way. And, you know, my goal was for 16 inches. So I think for that sake, we're going to have to say 17, which is going to make the whole thing a little bit longer, but it won't be any thicker, you know, because it'll fold down. But boy, for tonight's mission, to get that base secured and those legs, I am well pleased with that. So we are moving down the road. I think we'll stop there for tonight. I'm starting to get tired, and that's when you make mistakes or hurt yourself on the machines. So know when to quit. So take a break for tonight, and we'll bring you back for the next installment, and we'll figure out the engineering on that bit. All right. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff down there. Be safe out there. Peace.